TomoNews presents Machete Attacks.
7 charged over machete attack on Chicago train line. A 26-year-old man escaped with serious injuries after a brutal and unprovoked attack at the Kedzie CTA train station on Chicago's Brown Line in the city's northwest. Why? Because he didn't flash the right gang signs. It happened just after 12:30 a.m. on Monday, when 7 people approached the man and his 17-year-old brother as they sat quietly. Prosecutors say the group told the pair to throw some gang signs. The guys refused, telling the group they weren't in a gang. That's when 18-year-old Mario Elvira threw a beer to the ground, pulled a machete from his pants and put it to the 17-year-old's throat. The teen's older brother tried to de-escalate, but Elvira turned the blade on him and started swinging. The machete struck the man in the head and neck, leaving a gash 6 inches long and 1.5 inches deep. The attack kept up until the next train arrived and the gang fled. Less than an hour later, police caught up with Elvira, along with Jean Salvatierra, 23, Kevin Ramirez, 19, Kevar Preston, 20, and 3 15-year-olds. The 4 adults have all been charged with robbery, aggravated battery, and trespassing. The 3 minors were also charged. The victim received 30 stitches and was last reported to be in a stable condition. Hero tackles machete-wielding robber after smash and grab. 3 men are facing jail time for an epic string of armed robberies targeting money transfer and jewelry shops, stopped only by a heroic tackle from a brave shop manager. Alex Parle, Connor Grantland, and Thomas O'Connor plundered 7 shops in 2 cities over the course of a year, making off with $750,000 worth of expensive jewelry and watches. But their crime spree ended last January, just after robbing a luxury watch outfit in London's Liverpool Street. Surveillance footage shows the trio arriving outside car watches and diamonds, wearing helmets and gloves. Gartland and O'Connor smashed their way into the store with a concrete block and sledgehammer, with Parle acting as a lookout outside. As the group escapes on scooter with the stolen watches, an unmarked police car blocks their path, preventing Parle from getting on. The shop's manager gives chase and bravely tackles him before the 6'7" robber starts swinging a machete. Parle threatened a plainclothes police officer with his blade before running off. He was arrested not long after.
And by lead poisoning, I mean the dude got shot 3 times, and it's all caught on video. About 2 years ago in Pocatello, Idaho, 54-year-old Thomas Twain had gone totally bonkers in the breezeway of an apartment building. 2 residents, James Vingros and Kyla Gearhart, became frightened at all the noise. James tried to talk Tom down and get him to leave, but there's no reasoning with the stark raving maniac with the machete, it seems. One thing about Idaho, though, there's a lot of people with guns there. These 2 are ready for whatever, but just to make sure the law is on their side, James set his camera to record the whole incident.
Hey, you off! You off, Twain! I got a gun for... Calm down! Calm down! Stay down, Twain! Stay down! Oh my God! Oh God! Oh God!
This past Thursday, Thomas Twain was sentenced to 5 years mandatory time, plus up to 10 additional years depending on his conduct.
Former football player hacks a jogger to death with a machete. A man has been arrested for hacking a jogger to death with a machete in a random attack early Monday morning. A cyclist was riding along the White Rock Creek Trail at Harry Moss Park in Dallas, Texas at around 8 a.m. on Monday. As he rode underneath the Walnut Hill Lane overpass, he saw a man attacking another person with a machete. The cyclist paddled away as fast as possible when the man yelled out after him. The assailant called 911 at a nearby equestrian center himself to report a stabbing and later confessed to the crime. The machete-wielding man was identified as former Texas A&M football player Thomas Johnson. He admitted that he was angry after being kicked out of his home and decided to choose a random jogger to kill. No identification was found on the victim. He is described as a white male between 25 and 30 years old.
Miami teens hack classmate to death, then have sex on his grave. 4 Miami students allegedly lured a classmate to the woods near their school, where they hacked him to death with a machete, then buried him in a shallow grave. The 4 students accused of killing 17-year-old Jose Amaya Guardado, Kahim Arbello, Desiree Strickland, Christian Colon, and Jonathan Lucas all attend the Homestead Job Corps school in Miami. Authorities say on the night of June 28th, the 4 suspects lured Guardado into the woods, where the day before they had dug a grave and stashed a machete. They ambushed Guardado with machete strikes that caused massive injuries. As he was dying, the students told Guardado to lay in the grave. The victim made one last attempt to fight off the attackers, the arrest report says, at which time Arbello struck the victim with the machete several more times until the victim's face caved in. After the 4 buried Guardado and cleaned up the murder scene, Strickland and Arbello stayed in the woods to have sex before returning to the Job Corps campus. The 4 are being held without bond. A 5th suspect is expected to be arrested in the coming days.
Woman fights off intruder and slashes his head with a machete. A 47-year-old woman in Memphis, Tennessee fought off a home intruder with a rusty machete Tuesday morning. At around 10 a.m., Cheryl Nibley noticed someone was ripping the screen out of the window in her bedroom. Nibley grabbed her phone and a rusty machete she nicknamed Rufus and ran out of the room to call 911. Nibley heard the intruder pushing her bed away from the wall, so she ran back to wait for him to come through the window. As soon as she saw the top of his head, she chopped him multiple times, slashing him in the head and shoulders. He ran off and Nibley followed him with her machete. That's when she was stopped by the police and was ordered to drop her weapon. The search for the suspect is ongoing, but Nibley has something to say to the intruder. Brother, your days of breaking and entering are numbered. You keep this up and you're not gonna make it.
Crazy boyfriend searching for girlfriend attacks car with machete. A maniac on a scooter terrorized commuters in Taipei this week while he drove around screaming his girlfriend's name and waving a machete. The man, identified by his last name Guo, aged 35, was searching for his 15-year-old girlfriend, identified by her last name Wang. After an argument, Guo claims he saw his girlfriend jump into a car and drive off. Guo began chasing various cars with women inside so that he could get a closer look to make sure it wasn't his girlfriend. In total, Guo chased and attacked at least 7 different cars of different makes, models, and color. He even used his body to physically stop one car, and despite being hit by the car, he regained his feet, still screaming for his girlfriend. Eventually, Guo spotted a white car that had a couple inside. He became convinced that the woman in the passenger seat was his girlfriend and chased them as well, hacking at the car with his machete while racing side by side. The driver and his passenger were terrified and called the police, but the driver finally had enough of the chase and rammed Guo with his vehicle. Guo was knocked unconscious briefly, just enough time for police and authorities to arrive at the scene and arrest him. Guo has been arrested for assault and reckless driving. Police have not yet charged him with statutory rape, but we think when you're a 35-year-old dude dating a 15-year-old, you should be.
3 children aged 1, 5, and 12 were stabbed to death along with 2 other people who were wounded in an attack in the Burmese community of New Bern, North Carolina. Around 11 p.m. Tuesday night, 18-year-old Erla Do To barged into a home on the 800 block of Pasteur Street carrying a machete-like weapon. The woman who opened the door was wounded as well as her daughter, but they both escaped major injury. They managed to jump out of a window and run to a home next door where they pleaded with the neighbor to call police. However, the suspect was left in the home alone with 3 other children where he proceeded to murder them as they slept.
The suspect, as best we can tell at this point, is a neighbor, and they all knew each other, so this wasn't a random event. The message I would have is for keep the family in their prayers and support them in the way that they can. And if anyone has any information that they think would aid in this investigation, please contact us.
A machete-wielding psycho at a Halloween party cut off another machete-wielding psycho's hand. Don't you hate when somebody comes to the Halloween party dressed the same as you? Well, that kind of happened in Bryan, Texas on Saturday night when 2 guys with machetes met outside the club El Tropicana. Details are scarce, but we know there was a Halloween party going on at the time. Then, around 2 a.m., a fight started between 2 men with machetes. Whether the machetes were for costume effect or for a planned fight isn't known. What is known is that at least one of the machetes was real, because one guy lost a hand. When police arrived, the winning machete maniac had fled, and they took the loser to the hospital. The man's hand was completely amputated, and the police are asking the public for any information as to the winner's whereabouts.
A man attacked TSA officers with machete at New Orleans airport. A man attacked TSA officers with wasp spray and machete at New Orleans airport on Friday night. A man, identified as 63-year-old Richard White, sprayed a TSA officer with wasp spray at a security checkpoint at Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport. White then sprayed a second TSA officer and pulled a machete out of his pants and began swinging it at other officers. He then chased an officer who used a piece of luggage to defend himself through the metal detector. A deputy with the sheriff's office responded and fired 3 shots, striking White in the left side of his face, chest, and thigh. White was taken to a hospital for treatments. Authorities did not know what prompted the attack.
An American man was killed in Thailand on Saturday night after he and a taxi driver engaged in a fight over a cab fare. The passenger reportedly refused to pay the 51 baht fare for the car ride. When the driver demanded money, the passenger threw an empty coffee cup at the car. This prompted the driver to take a machete out of the trunk, at which point the passenger reportedly rushed toward him. The driver claims he panicked and slashed the man a few times before the two struggled for a while. When the passenger fell to the ground, the driver fled the scene, later dumping the machete in a canal. The driver also later discarded his shirt. However, police were still able to track him down, and he was arrested at his apartment in Bangkok's Pras district early Sunday morning. Police say the driver confessed to the crime and will be charged with murder and carrying a weapon in public.
Idaho boy kills dad and brother with machete. 14-year-old Eldon Samuel III is facing 2 counts of first-degree murder for killing his father and 13-year-old brother Monday evening in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. The teen's father was said to be ranting about zombies in the front yard and fired a gunshot into the home. The boy and his father then got into an argument inside the house. Eldon somehow got the gun from his father and shot him in the stomach. Eldon then shot his father in the head 3 more times, before he took the shotgun and fired 4 times at his 13-year-old brother. He then stabbed his brother with a large knife before returning with a machete to finish the job. The 14-year-old then called the police after the killings and confessed. When police arrived at the scene, Eldon was covered in blood, but remained calm and emotionless. Eldon told police he idolizes Trevor from GTA 5, saying Trevor has anger issues and likes to shoot people, and that's kinda cool. Eldon later confessed that he had been plotting the murder of his father and brother for 8 months. If convicted, Eldon would be charged as an adult for 2 counts of first-degree murder and could face up to life in prison.
California cop kills teen who attacked him with machete. A California Highway Patrol officer was seriously injured after being attacked with a machete. It happened in the early morning hours of December 18th, when the officer responded to a call of a single car accident near Willow Creek. As the officer offered help to the 17-year-old driver, out of nowhere the teen pulls out a machete, authorities said. The officer's hand, arm, and face were badly injured in the attack. The officer fired several shots at his assailant, and then fled to his car and called for help. When backup arrived, the teen was naked and behaving erratically. The officer tased the teen, and with the help of some good Samaritans, were able to handcuff him. Paramedics attempted CPR, but the 17-year-old died at the scene. The CHP has not released the name of the officers involved in the incident or the name of the teenager killed. The officer was airlifted to UC Davis Medical Center with very serious injuries, local media reported.
It was after dark on September 25th at the Stop & Shop Deli in Brentwood on Long Island. A 24-year-old clerk was behind the counter. The suspect put on a mask before entering the shop. This is the real footage of what happened next. The date is an error from the camera. The robber fired his .22 caliber pistol once and asked for all the money. But the clerk had a trick up his own sleeve, a 2-foot-long machete. He chased the robber out and across the parking lot. Police are still searching for the masked man.
Naturalized American atheist blogger hacked to death in Bangladesh. Avijit Roy, a Bangladeshi-American blogger and writer, was killed in Bangladesh on Thursday. Roy was well known for his books Virus of Faith and From Vacuum to the Universe. His writing showed him to be a fierce critic of Islamic fundamentalism, and he was frequently threatened. Roy and his wife, Rafida Ahmed Bana, also a blogger, were invited to a book fair at Dhaka University. While returning from the same book fair, two attackers stopped them near the Teacher-Student Center of the university around 9:30 p.m. The assailants dragged the couple to the sidewalk and attacked them with machetes. The assault opened a deep gash on Roy's head. His wife was also wounded and lost a finger. The attackers fled, leaving their weapons and a bag containing old newspapers at the scene. Roy and Bana were sent to Dhaka Medical College and Hospital. Roy was declared dead later that night. A blogger friend of Roy told Bangladesh's BD News 24 that the book fair Roy attended was always a possible death trap. The identities of the two attackers remains unknown. The investigation over the incident is ongoing.